What's going on, guys? It's Jacob Theme. The number one problem I have while doing tricks like tail whips is my cranks always spin. To help with that, I'm going to be installing Nowear BMX's Slow Your Roll. We're just going to get right into it. The first thing you're going to start with is your bottom bracket. What I like to do is get a little bit of grease on my bottom bracket bearing. A little bit on there. Get it in there. The number one key before you put the next bottom bracket bearing in is putting this spindle sleeve. This does vary in size. Make sure you use the appropriate one. It does matter to what size spindle you have.
And to elaborate on what Jake was saying, these spacers can be different sizes. The key is that the spacer on the inside is going to touch both bearings once it's in there, because the bearings need to be able to slam down on the spacer. So if after you put your spacer in, you don't feel it touch both sides, then you can add a smaller size spacer inside to eat up whatever space you need so that it touches both bearings. If this is not something you can accomplish on your own, please seek help with your local bike shop and with the experts that can help you get this installed properly.
Don't forget that. And then obviously we'll grease this one up and we'll get it installed just like we did the other one.
How much grease would you recommend, Jake?
I'd recommend about an ounce exactly. I wouldn't use any more or any less.
Is that a dollop?
Yeah, it's something like that. Those who know.
I figured.
You know.
How can you putting the grease in just the one corner?
Well, you know, once it... Oh, yeah, it won't spin, actually. Just realized that.
I'm going to keep that in video.
Please keep it in. That is
be
amazing. All right. Up next, we are going to put the cranks on. And the tricky part is not tricky at all. Make sure you have the sleeve covering the spindle, and make sure you have all of your washers so your crank arm does not hit the frame. All right, so now it's time to install the Slow Your Roll. The number one key for this is the washer itself has a little flange on it that you have to make sure it goes right up against that bottom bracket bearing. All right, and just like that, you just slap it on and you're good to go. Up next is obviously the other crank arm. So we'll get the cranks lined up and get this thing all put together.
So optimally, you want to be able to access all four of your set screws. So before you put your crank arm bolt and slam everything down, make sure that you center your Slow Your Roll so that the blank spot in the back here is directly behind your crank arm, as you can see here. The Allen wrench we provide with each crank will give you good access to these upper ones that's near the crank arm. Please keep in mind, some bigger cranks with thicker crank arms are a little harder to access, but we've been able to establish it so far with every crank that we've tried.
That's another important thing with running that spindle sleeve in the middle. It gives you the ability to crank your crank bolts as tight as you can and completely adjust your crank spinnage off of the Slow Your Roll. And you have all that spinning ability. And now from there, you adjust everything right from the Slow Your Roll. It's time to adjust these set screws. This is all completely preference. I prefer mine to have a pretty medium balance with how much my cranks spin. So that's the difference now on just barely even tightening it.
Do you like less or more than that?
I mean, that's pretty good, honestly. From here, yeah, the nice thing I was saying is it's all adjustable from the Slow Your Roll. Your cranks are completely tight and you don't have to adjust at all off of your spindle. Having that sleeve and having these set screws to adjust, it's perfect.
Please keep in mind, guys, that the way these work is off of friction. There will be a break-in period. After you set your screws and get them where you want, they are going to wear in, and over time, you're probably going to want to check your tension, and you might find that you want to add a little more tension. So since this works off friction, you are going to put wear to the race of your bearing, but that's the nature of the beast, making your cranks run just how they want and making them dialed in. Just wanted you guys to be aware, this system does run off friction.
And the other cool thing about the Slow Your Roll is your chain can now take a break knowing it's not going to be so tight. So you won't have to worry about relying on that to slow your cranks down, and you can also add some life to your chain.